you guys for coming in. I appreciate it. How's everything been going today?
Good.
Good. Y'all went and did the training this morning with Sped. So hopefully that went well. I'm gonna do the same training that you guys are doing when they release the video to me. Okay. But I wanted to meet with y'all before school starts, but go over a few things. DAP, we've discussed this as a whole previously, and that was our DAP procedures and dress code, making a few changes. Okay, so I wanted to get the new handbook out to you. That way you guys have a copy of it. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. So not much has changed, but there are some things that we have to keep into consideration, especially with a COVID opening. Okay. Most of everything, like I said, most of everything has pretty much stayed the same, but some things that we're going to discuss are dress code. Okay. We discussed that our kids were in polos, jeans with no holes, belts, tennis shoes, right? Because of COVID, which is a really good time to go ahead and move to this new dress code. But basically we're gonna go with the gray Hanes shirts. So I've already made that change here in the handbook as well. So when I start having those intake meetings with our parents, that's the direction we're gonna go with, is being able to buy a 5-pack of Hanes gray t-shirts at Walmart that's gonna cost them little to nothing versus the kid that can only buy one polo and wears the same polo every single day.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and make that that change, and I know that you guys, we talked about it previously and y'all were, y'all agreed, and so I'm glad we are getting to make that change. Some other changes were with our level system, okay? Because we moved from one facility to the other, okay, there's some changes we have to consider, okay? And I wanna make sure that before I print any of this to be put into transitions to be able to give to parents, I wanna make sure we're all in agreement. But with our levels, basically level 1 stays the same, no extra privileges. You don't leave the cubicle for any reason whatsoever except to go to the bathroom, okay, twice a day. Now, level 2, we're still doing the consecutive days. If Johnny is good for 4 days and then decides that he's had enough on day 5, his time's gonna start over, okay? None of that's gonna change. However, the privileges are gonna change. Because at level 2 and level 3, we previously let them go eat in the cafeteria. We're not gonna do that. Everybody's gonna eat in their cubicles, no matter what. Even if it wasn't COVID, we would still move to this, okay? Because 1, we don't want to travel all the way down this hallway and down another hallway through another building to get to the cafeteria, okay? So that's one of the things, they're not gonna have that privilege at level 2 anymore, okay? Everybody will eat in their cubicles. So what I've done is try to give them more incentives at level 2, and y'all tell me if you can think of anything else that you would like to do for them, but I still think they earn that 15-minute walk, okay? Whether that's we take them to the gym and they walk around the gym, we can decide how we wanna go for a walk. Sometimes I know that go walk outside, they kinda enjoyed that. So I don't mind either way on that one. Because we're taking lunch and being able to talk to our friends away from them, a 15-minute walk probably wasn't a whole lot of incentive to move. So what I have added is a 30-minute gym time on Fridays if all points have been met for the week. That way they have a little more incentive to go ahead and keep on their successful days, okay? If y'all think of anything else, please let me know. Like I said, I've only printed these for y'all so far. So if we need to make any changes, we need to go ahead and do it now. Level 3, again, 10 consecutive days of good behavior to be on level 3. I have, we've kept the whole bring the soda on Fridays, okay, which I know some of them took advantage of it and some of them didn't. After 3 consecutive successful weeks on level 3, they'll earn that time for time basis. And then we've got the cushion chair, okay. I took out the rolly section part because if we have a kid that abuses it, like let's just say they're antsy and they just roll around everywhere, we could flip it out for like that one that doesn't actually have roll, like the wheels on it, okay. And then the 30-minute gym time. Okay? I feel like that's a lot that we're getting to level 3. The one thing that I was kind of disappointed in is the structure of the classroom. I really kind of like the fact that at level 3 they had a little more room. Does that make sense? To integrate back into the classroom. But with COVID, I don't want to take any chances. I want them to stay in their cubicles so that we don't run into any issues of kids being too close together. Or if, let's just say, Johnny's in his cubicle and he gets sick. Well, guess what? We have non-contact with all of the other students because they're now in their 5 foot tall, 4 foot long cubicle. Okay, so we have some more leeway to keep our kids socially distanced. Okay, where everybody's building and spending a bunch of money on plexiglass cubicles, ours is built in. Okay, we're gonna be more strict. I'm gonna be more strict. Where's that? I'm gonna be more strict on the kids sleeping.
Are they earning the quarter day? I don't see that anymore.
Yes, it's in a totally different section, but it is in here. I just added the level 3 stuff for the earning the day, but it is still in here. I couldn't tell you right now where it's at. But they will still earn their quarter of a day. I'm trying to think of where it's at.
But they do have to maintain like 90 points for that?
Yes,
Okay.
they will still have to have a 90 point or more successful day in order to earn that quarter of a day. Okay. If they fall under 70, that rule's still the same. They fall under 70, they don't earn their day. They lost it. But I'm gonna be more strict on sleeping in class. Okay. They don't need to be here sleeping. We need them working. I want them to be able to return back to campus and be completely caught up on track. Another thing that we're gonna look in is gonna be a case-by-case basis. So we kind of had a rule of thumb. If the kid was here for 30 or more days, we pull them out of class and we put them on ingenuity, right? Because everything's virtual right now, on a case-by-case basis, if the kids are here for 60 days, we may end up just saying, hey, you're now gonna be in your virtual classroom. And you're gonna stay enrolled, okay? The teacher will post their assignments in the classroom, and what we'll do is we'll have a checklist of all of their classes, and we'll have to make sure that we have access to their classrooms, and that's just contacting the teacher and getting the code, and making sure that Johnny's turned in assignment for science, assignment for this, because that's how they're gonna tell attendance as well. But if we keep them on the virtual classroom, they're gonna be getting their lessons from their teacher still, and when they return back, they'll be back on campus. If we didn't have everybody going to this virtual learning type of environment, it might be a little bit different. But I'm thinking that because they are all gonna be, I mean, it doesn't matter if that kid is a butt in their seat or at home, they're all going into a virtual classroom. So instead of having kids pulled out to be put in ingenuity, we're gonna keep them where they're at on a case-by-case basis. Now, if someone comes in and they're behind on credits for a high school kid, and they're here for 90 days, we're gonna pull them out, put them on ingenuity, and we're gonna get them caught up to where they need to be. So that's why I said it's gonna be a case-by-case basis, okay?
So under 30 days,
There's still gonna be, yes, there's still gonna be virtual classroom. Okay, they're still gonna be sending, they're not really sending assignments anymore, because everything that they're doing is gonna be posted in that Google Classroom. Right, so basically, it'll be a little work on us, and that's just contacting those teachers and getting those codes to get in. But we would just have a checklist. These are your teachers, these are your classes, and this is the assignment that's due for the week, and we just make sure that we check off that it's being turned in, and all they have to do is click on the assignment, and we'll do some Google training as well, just to make sure y'all are comfortable. And that's, if we have to create a fake classroom and do it ourselves, we'll do it. But they would just have to literally click on the assignment, and it'll show that it's been turned in. Okay. Other than that, that's kind of the biggest piece, was the dress code and then the level system changing. I did put a copy of the calendar for the school year in here. The students are in class for 169 days, so we are a little bit less than last year. So we may end up with more kids because there's not enough days for them to get out. But our biggest hurdle is just making sure that we keep these kids safe, and from COVID and everything else that's going on. And then I have the academy one as well. been updated, and we'll make sure that there's nothing in there that needs to change, okay? So our campus handbook, that I did not print, I'll get that to you guys. Nothing's changed but the living tree. I've updated the living tree. I've updated a few things in there, but I'll make sure that you guys have a hard copy of that. And then after you guys get done reading it, if you have any issues or questions or concerns, just let me know. And you'll tear off that last sheet and sign that you've received your campus handbook, okay? One of the biggest things we're gonna go over is this today, okay? So this is something we have to be trained on. And this is our campus-specific return to school plan, okay? So what we put in here is what we're gonna have to do, okay? And this is coming from our district level, so saying that these are the things we're gonna be doing as a district, but they're also a little more specific to us, because there are some things that don't apply to our campus that they might be doing at other campuses. So we kind of have to narrow it down. But our back to school plan is what are we gonna be doing and what are we going to have in place for y'all to stay safe and for all of us to stay safe and healthy, basically, okay? The state TEA has sent hand sanitizer, which we have some of it right now. I tried to make it smell better, guys. I put peppermint oil in some, and I put some orange oil in another, and it did not work. It did not mask the smell at all. So we're gonna have to bear with the smell, I'm sorry. But we do have several bottles of hand sanitizer, okay? And what we'll do is we'll regroup in a couple months, see where we're at, and if we need more, we're gonna order some more, okay? We also got the alcohol wipes, and we have plenty of packages, okay? And we're gonna, I actually have it on the agenda that we're going to be creating some specific campus back to school bathroom procedures and daily cleaning procedures that we're all gonna feel comfortable with, and making sure that you're not getting sick, you're not getting sick, no one's getting sick, okay? And if we have to shut down, I want this campus to be the cleanest campus, that all they have to do is come in and spray their fogger everywhere and we're good to go in 3 days, okay? Because I have a feeling no matter what we do, something's gonna happen. Whether it's this campus, junior high, high school, whatever campus it's at, something's gonna happen. And, I mean, you see it on, social media, on the news all the time. There's one school, I think in Missouri, that literally one day they were open and then they had to shut down again for 14 days. Okay?
So is that campus shut down or the whole school?
The campus shut down. So they do have it specific to the campus. Now, the problem with that is going to be, all right, well, I have so-and-so at this campus, but brother and sister at this campus and this campus. And they've also now tested positive. So that's when you see a whole, effect kind of take place. And that's where a district may shut down.
And we get junior high and high school.
We
Our
do.
kids are in every campus, but primary.
But it's just one of those things, like, what if you have a new kid come in and all of a sudden we send them home because they were having COVID symptoms, but we find out that they've got little brother and sister, and so now our campus is shut down, and so are these two because they're in intermediate and primary. So there's a whole snowball effect that could take place. So we wanna make sure that whatever we do, we stay safe, okay? Right now there are visitor restrictions for us, okay? That means that our normal people that we have come in talking to our kids, okay? Whether they're an Army recruiter or, job shadow opportunity, whatever we have set up right now, because of everything going on, we're not gonna be allowing that, okay? Now, some things that we can look at is, as an alternative to that, are can we set up any virtual meetings? Okay, so when we start looking at, getting some of those Army recruiters and stuff that come in and talk to our DAP kids that are interested in the armed forces and our CAP kids, then I wanna see what can we make available. Maybe they send us a care package and we have a Zoom meeting. So we can figure out some sort of alternative, but right now, there is no visitors, okay? Our visitors will consist of a parent coming up. They don't leave the front office area, but they're gonna come up, say they need to check their kid out. They'll check their kid out and they'll leave. They do not go past the front office door, basically.
No bringing lunches, no bringing.
Yeah, we're not having dropped off lunches, cause the deal is, We don't know who's handled that food and then who's touched that food and did they bring it home before they came in? No drop-off lunches, yes, okay?
Can they bring a lunch?
Yes, if they bring it with them, because technically, if you think about it, they brought themselves with them. You know what I mean? Like, if they're infected, that lunch is infected too, but if they're not, at least we know it didn't get handled by several other people, okay? Employee and student screening and protocols, okay? This was, part of the nurse protocols, which a few of you will be trained at a later date. I'm waiting on them to release the video to me, but this was one of the things that she talked about is make sure that you're self-monitoring at home, okay? I don't need to see your log, but just make sure, check your temperature before you leave. If you're having trouble breathing, if you have any of those COVID symptoms, stay at home. We will find a sub, make sure you're better. Now, some of it might just be allergies, okay? If you're not running a fever, you're generally okay. Now, they did say that if you're asymptomatic, you may not even know. So it's kind of a catch-22. If you don't know, you don't know. But if you're not presenting any signs of fever, coughing, I think there's a whole slew on the back page.
Headache, loss of taste or
Temperature,
smell.
shortness of breath, cough, running nose, sneezing, muscle pain, tiredness. Okay, if you're not presenting any of those symptoms, you're fine to be there. Okay. One of the things that I also want you to, when you do the nurse protocols training, which, like I said, once you releases that video, I'll send it to you guys so y'all can do that training as well. But she goes over some of the rights that you guys have as employees. So that means that if you're at work and you catch COVID from a kid, then you have the right to go to the HR office and file for paid sick leave from COVID. Okay, so definitely pay attention because she does go over that. Okay, and if you ever have any questions about, hey, what are my rights? You can contact me or you can call straight over to Cindy Bray and she'll be able to tell you word for word. I've also posted a little poster in the workroom and it goes over all of that for you. Okay? Yes,
You
ma'am.
might supposed to keep a log every day. Starting
That,
September 1st.
that's just for your own personal records if
Okay.
you want to. Basically, she's made some cards, which she said she'll get out to us. And she's just gonna laminate them and it's just kind of like a checklist, like, do I have a fever? No, I'm good. Do I have this? And just kind of a check. You don't actually have to write anything down or turn anything
It's just a
in.
mental health
It's
kind of
just a
thing.
self-screening to make sure you're good to come to work, right? So there are some health protocols that when you test positive for COVID-19 or suspected with COVID-19, okay, so if you've been diagnosed with COVID-19 and you return to work when all three of the criteria are met, okay? And that's at least 3 days have passed since recovery, meaning no fever without the use of fever-reducing medications, and you have improved in respiratory symptoms, so cough, shortness of breath, and at least 7 days have passed since symptoms first occurred, okay? So it's been updated. It used to be 14 days, and now you're looking at about 10, okay? So it's constantly, they're giving us more feedback, and this may change before we start on September 1st. You never know, but this is the latest so far, okay? Let's see, there is a self-screening protocol, and like I said, she'll be giving us they're like little self-cards, and then we'll be able to check ourselves from there, okay? Let's see, before coming onto campus or buses at the beginning of the year and the rest of every week of on-campus instruction, KSU will screen students to determine if they have COVID-19 symptoms or they have close contact with an individual left with birth, okay? So this is gonna be one of those things where if a kid is presenting symptoms, then like we're gonna ask them, like, have you been in contact? Because parents may end up just dropping the kid off and saying bye, and they're gonna burn rubber getting out of here because they're ready to get rid of their kid. Okay, so we need to have a protocol in place, and it's gonna be part of our daily checklist. Have you been in contact with COVID? Have you done this? Simple 2 questions. Okay, and there's a screening protocol. Have you been exposed? And then is there information, are you showing any signs? 2 questions. And that's just to make sure that if the kid's like, oh yeah, my aunt came down with it and I hung out with her on Tuesday, then we need to go ahead and be safe and send that kid home until they can prove otherwise, okay? Or we can monitor depending on well, so-and-so came down on Monday, but I haven't seen them in 2 weeks, then we monitor. Okay, let's see. Identifying possible COVID-19 cases. If we have someone that is suspected of COVID-19, we are going to put them in an isolation room, okay? Right now, that isolation room is either going to be this room, okay? Or if there's no one in the intermediate DAP room, we're gonna put them in there in a cubicle. That way, when it comes down to disinfecting, it's less that they have to disinfect, and they're gonna be, you get this 2.5 foot by 4 foot area. Okay, so we'll use that as an isolation room, and I have an isolation room sign that we're gonna put on there as well, for the time being. Okay, now if we have an intermediate kid come in, then we'll make sure that if no one's used that room, we'll switch it to this room right here.
And then we'll get a sub to run that room, or how does that work?
No, the nurse will be present, because the nurse will have to come over and she'll fill out her form, and we'll make sure that, the kid stays isolated until parents come to pick them up. Okay.
And it's not gonna be one of those things where the parent is like, oh, I'll pick them up later. No, you need to
No.
come and get this child.
That's not an option. Yes, that is not an option. That is correct. If a kid is confirmed in the school, okay, then there's some protocols that I have to go through, and that's, we have to, contact our local health department. Okay, we'll contact admin, see what they wanna do, cause it might be one of those things where we started in DAP with one kid. That one kid ended up coming down with COVID. Well, that means that we had to shut down that one classroom. We don't have to shut down the building. Does that make sense? And since we isolate Camp Academy and DAP down hallways, we may end up just having to shut down that classroom for 3 days after it's been disinfected. Okay, and if, let's just say there's 3 kids, and they were all socially distanced and come in contact with each other, we may end up sending that kid home for the required 10 days, or unless they can get, until they get a negative response on their COVID test, we may shut that classroom down and move it to the other classroom. So we have a backup DAP. Okay, so we'll do whatever the superintendent's office wants us to do, but that's, at least we have a plan in place. Okay. Let's see, the nurse will be called to our campus, if the situation rises to administer medications for minor issues. So meaning, in the past, we've always called our nurse over if someone needs a Band-Aid or, you know, something like that. It'd be the same thing. She'll just come to the classroom. For our sake, it's always worked that way, but for other campuses, the nurse has always been sent up to the nurse's office. So now the nurse is gonna be going to the classrooms so that the kids aren't moving around and walking down hallways, and you know how they walk down the hallway like this with the lockers. So it's gonna cut down on some of that extra exposure that doesn't need to happen, okay? There's some guidance of exposed. If you're exposed, you're gonna quarantine yourself in a specific room away from others in your home. Okay, this is just for like at-home care. Contact the following in the order of priority and let them know if you've been exposed to COVID-19. Then follow their instructions. So your healthcare provider, you know, make sure they know that you're sick. The HR department, okay? Because if you got sick here, there are laws in place to help ensure that you're getting paid, okay? And then your supervisor, make sure we get a sub in it for you. And then that also lets us know, all right, who are you in contact with? What do we need to do up here as well? Your supervisor will work with the HR to determine appropriate next steps. In the case of emergency, call 911, of course. Okay. Social distancing. I do have some social distancing signage that we're gonna put up, and you're gonna see a lot of that signage in the back of this packet as well. But we wanna make sure that we keep 6 feet apart. Okay, and we're gonna talk about some more social distancing things that we're gonna do as far as our bathroom procedures that we're gonna make. Personal protective equipment. I have mine up here, but it's hard to really talk with it on, okay? But mask, we do have shields for everybody, okay? Now, I guess I'm a heavy breather because whenever I put mine on, it just starts to fog up. So you'll probably see me around in a mask, okay? But those shields are very beneficial for those, if we have any that come in that have hearing loss or need to be able to see your mouth move, okay? So you will all have a shield as well, so that if we run into that and needing to have a student that needs to see your mouth, then we'll put the shields on and make sure they're getting that that accommodation from you guys, correct?
So we don't have to wear the shield all the time?
No, but you do have to have something on, and that's why I said I usually have mine on. Like She'd probably walk by the office and she's like, she's in there by herself. Why is her mask on? Like, I just forgot to take it off because I'm so used to wearing it now. I try to have it on as much as possible, just because if we're requiring our kids to wear them, whether it's a mask or a shield, then we need to make sure that we're reflecting that as well. Okay. Make sure that we're washing our hands for at least 20 seconds. Okay. It says use hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol. That one's probably 99.9% because it smells like it. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth, and cover your mouth with cover your mouth and nose with a tissue before you cough or sneeze. If not, you can always sneeze into your elbow. Have you ever seen the kids video where they're like, do this? Carson did that for a long time. When she watched it was Bubble Guppies, that's where it came from. Personal workspace in classroom. If you share workspace, okay, be considerate of the person that's gonna come in after you. Okay? Because some of y'all will share a classroom, but you've got separate desks. But if you have to come in and say, you're absent for the day and you're helping fill in, okay? Don't be upset if she's over there moving your stuff around because she's sitting there wiping everything down. I would rather it be wiped down and disinfected for her sake to make sure we're all safe, okay? That's your shared workspace. Let's see, facilities cleaning. Okay, we just paid $200,000 for ABM to do something called a enhanced cleaning. Okay, they're going before Monday or by Monday. They're supposed to give us a checklist. Okay, it can stay by the door, but it's a checklist of everything that they are required to do by their contract, and that means come in. They're going to be disinfecting our rooms. Okay, it's supposed to set on the surface for 15 minutes before they're going to spray it at 9. It's going to sit overnight, kind of thing. Okay, they're going to be wiping down everything, disinfecting everything. So that means that this checklist, we're going to go through it, and if they're not doing it, I want you to let me know, because I'm going to take it back over there and say these things weren't being done. Because one, we're not going to have them come in and only half clean the room when we've paid them to, fully disinfect and clean our rooms. But I'm not going to run into the fact that, well, we forgot to say that they didn't do these things, and now we've got a kid that's sick with COVID. So they're supposed to get us a checklist, and I'll run through that checklist in the mornings. I know one thing that we've been having to turn in is our trash is only being taken out every 2 or 3 days, and that's not going to happen anymore. I know that we had a weird cleaning schedule before, but at this point, it's every day. Every day, we're talking about they're going to be wiping down doors, they're going to be wiping down tables, chairs, disinfecting. You name it, it's going to be done. So once they get us that checklist, I'll get them to you. I'll say we'll put them by the door, and we make sure they're done. Okay? And if we have to, I'll print out extras, and if we have to start to keeping a daily log because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, we will, and I'll turn those daily logs into ABM, into the administration office to make sure that we're double checking that they're doing what they're doing, and it's also going to keep us healthy as well. Okay. That is our facilities cleaning, deep cleaning and disinfecting protocol. When we have a kid that tests positive for COVID, they're going to come in and do a deep cleaning on the building. Okay, or specifically that room, because our kids they're not mobile, they're not going to be all over the building. They will probably just come in and do that room in those cubicles to make sure everything's okay. We will have signage posted. Right, I've got it all laminated, and in the office we're just going to cut it out, but we're going to put up signs. We want to make sure that parents know if you're not wearing a mask, you're not getting in this building. I will not unlock that door and open it up for you. Now the doors stayed unlocked because we have a lot of people going in, maintenance and stuff like that right now. But once school starts, that door will always be locked.
My key won't work, by the way.
That one's weird. There's a master key, and then there's what they call an F key. So I'll have to switch it out and get you an F key, because that master key will actually open the doors in the office, but it will not open the outside doors. But the F key will open up everything. So I'll have to switch out and find you one. Food delivery. Bringing or sharing refreshments during meetings is prohibited. Sorry guys, no snacks. Okay, because they don't want a whole lot of hands. Okay, if we do meals, and that just means that if we decide to do a potluck, okay, it cannot be buffet style because of COVID. Okay, it has to be individual, like boxed meals. So it kind of puts a damper on some of the holiday stuff, but we'll figure out a way to make it work. Okay, we'll do something. It's just the buffet style. They're trying to prevent too many hands and too many pots. Okay. Personal deliveries such as packages. That would be meals, whatever it is. We're not going to allow them into the building while this is going on because we're fixing to go from 5 people to about 30 real quick and in a hurry, and you don't know, like, we can control this environment that we're in and we can keep this environment as clean as we can, but we can't control what they're doing at home and what they're going to be bringing up here. Okay. KSD is actually going to have hand sanitizer stations. I'm waiting for ours to be delivered, but basically there's going to be some that are mounted to the wall. So besides just the fact that we have those, there's going to be some that are mounted to the wall, and so they'll be able to use it as they enter a classroom. Okay. There's going to be some that are going to be on the stands, like the little heavy metal stands, and they'll have a hand sanitizer station there as well. Okay. So we're going to see hand sanitizer everywhere, but one of our key things is we need to make sure that we remind our kids, because I have to remind mine all the time, but they're also little, that when they go to the bathroom, to wash their hands. And if that means that we have to watch a hand washing video on how to properly wash our hands, we will. But a lot of them are just like, so, and that's it. It's 20 seconds, and they've got to get in between, on top. I mean, they really probably just don't know how to wash their hands, and we may end up having to teach them, even at the junior high and high school level, how to wash their hands. Okay? Let's see, what else? Students, teachers, staff, and campus visitors will be encouraged to sanitize and wash hands frequently. I don't know about you, but me, when I bought any hand sanitizer, you saw me just a second ago, I was literally like, all I'm doing is touching my only papers I was doing with, but I still use hand sanitizer. It's like when I see it, I have to use it. Confirmed school district has an adequate supply of soap and disinfectant. We're going to keep an inventory, a live inventory of it, so we know what we have, what we need to look for. I know that I saw on social media the other day that Lowe's was selling Clorox wipes again, and I'm like, I'm going to Lowe's, guys. So hopefully we can get some Clorox wipes in here, besides just our alcohol wipes that we have. We do have touchless thermometers. We have one right now, and it's in the office, and it works pretty good. So we'll have that in case we need it. Camp Alternative School encourages supervision of our younger students as students engage in hand washing for at least 20 seconds a day. So when we get any of our kids, again, it's just we have to teach them how to properly wash their hands, because I can guarantee you they don't know how. Students and teacher groupings. Okay, this right here is just when spaces allow it, which ours is a little bit different. Okay, but when space allows it, we're going to make sure we spread them out. They're in cubicles, so we don't have necessarily to worry about that. But when your kids start coming in and you have 4 seats right here, you may end up having one here and one there.
Mm-hmm.
And just making sure that we spread them out appropriately. Okay. Arrival and dismissal. Okay, we actually have a front of a building now, so when they arrive, they're going to come in. Okay, and this is where we're going to meet and see. We're going to walk the hallways and say, how do you want to have them spaced out? Well, before they're allowed to go into their cubicle. We may end up wanting to have them come in, check in, and go straight to their cubicle and stay seated. And check them in and go to your cubicle. So I'm gonna meet with y'all and see how you wanna do it. I wanna wait until after we have the cubicles, because I don't know how they're gonna set it up in the classroom, and I wanna make sure y'all can visually see it.
Well, now, Cheryl and I will be the only 2 here greeting students at that hour.
Yes.
So it's gonna be real hot, cause you can't just send them down without being in there.
I know, and it may be one of those things where they have to come in, and as I said, we're gonna walk the hallways, and we're gonna figure out the best way to do this, and it might be something, maybe we figure out a plan now, and when school starts, we're like, yep, that didn't work, and we may have to change it. So it'll be fluid, and we'll update it to the best possible way to keep them socially distanced, but to also keep them out of sitting in the hallway. I mean, and if it means we're sitting in the hallway and we have a chair here, a chair here, a chair here, a chair here, we'll do that too. Until we're ready to accept them.
The long bench they used to all just.
Yes, and that's why we can't do that. We can't just set them on one bench. We have to keep them socially distanced. So that's gonna take a little bit of time. So that's why I have on our agenda to go over some procedures, because I don't wanna do it by myself. We've got several brains here and we're gonna do it together.
Okay.
We may need to do away with that bench.
And we may have to, we
And
may
use
need to put it
chairs.
into a storage room for now until we figure out how we wanna do it. But it's gonna be one of those things where that's kind of on our agenda today, is to create some of those lists.
Good thing they aren't too close.
Okay. But I wanna make sure that y'all are comfortable with it, and I wanna make sure that it's feasible, and not just in my mind, it sounds good, because y'all are in the classrooms way more than I am, and I know you're gonna know what works, and you're like, yeah, no, that's probably not gonna work, I'm sorry, Tiffany. Okay, but arrival and dismissal, we'll dismiss just like last time. When they see their car, we'll dismiss them out, because I don't want to run into a bottleneck of people, because we've done so good socially distancing, them at this point, we don't wanna just kick everybody out and say, hey, there you go. So just like always, we'll release them as we see their parents.
How are we gonna see them
Do it.
from the rooms that we're in? How are we
So-
gonna?
It's gonna be one of those things where, depending on how many kids we have, we may take a few at a time to the front and let them see their cars and let them go, okay? We may work as a team, we're gonna work as a team, we're gonna do something, cause I know that you're not gonna be able to see outside, but we're gonna start recognizing cars where one person might be in the room, the other one's like, alright, so-and-so's parents here, so-and-so's parents here. Cause I know
Maybe
that,
we need to get a cheap little set of walkie-talkies.
I have one, there's the one in the DAP room and there's one in my office.
Stay in the
And-
room with them, and as they come, just call them out.
Yes, that's a great idea and I love it, and I will give you mine. You're welcome.
There you go.
Okay, so we have all the safety supplies, we've got, we're waiting on some gloves. The gloves haven't arrived yet, but we'll have gloves available to us, but we do have some in our, first aid kits if we need them, okay?
I have several boxes in the cafeteria.
Okay, perfect. We do have face shields in, we'll make sure that all the kids get a face shield. The good thing about the face shield is that if we have a DAP kid come in, and we'll have them use the face shield while they're here, once they're in the cubicle, they can take off their mask and their shield, because they're by themselves. If they leave the cubicle, they're gonna have their mask or their shield on. Okay, but we're gonna provide them with a shield, because a lot of kids can't breathe in these. I know after I've had it on for a while, I'm just like, and they're gonna be the same way, especially our asthmatic kids, they're not gonna want to have a mask on, they're gonna want a shield on, but we're gonna provide them with a shield, okay? Let's see. what
They'll
else?
take it home, or they'll leave it
No,
at
it'll
their
stay
desk?
here, yes, it'll stay here, and they'll be disinfected tonight, but after they're disinfected, we can reuse them, on a different kid. We'll just quarantine it for 4 days after it's been disinfected, just to be on the safe side.
We need to put some kind of a hook on the outside of the cubicle that they can hang their mask or their shield on when they leave.
Are we gonna hang the clipboards up on the cubicles, or do we keep that desk?
I would prefer that we go ahead and keep them at a desk for now, because how many times have you the kids wanna sit there and touch them? I don't want you touching it after a kid's been doing it. So,
Okay.
yeah, but if they wanna see how they're doing, maybe they have questions, it would be one of those things where you could, present it to them and just be like, look, here's where you're at, you're allowed to look at it, don't touch, because we're trying to prevent the spread of something, okay? Now restrooms, again, that's on our list. I want us to come up with some bathroom procedures, okay? Whether that's, all right, we take 2 at a time, and there is literally X marks all the way from the cubicles around the corner into the bathroom. And when someone moves off the next desk, it's like waiting in line at Walmart.
Mhm.
They can move to the next desk all the way to the bathroom. They look like hopscotch. That's kind of my thought on it. But again, we're gonna sit after we get through the rest of this plan. I wanna talk to y'all about making those procedures, and like I said, if that means we put tape on the floor, we'll do it. Okay, but we're gonna go through and, make up a good plan for those and then have them in place, okay? Cafeteria and meal periods. Okay, this is where it's gonna get a little tricky. We're no longer right next to the cafeteria. So, our breakfast, we're gonna order breakfast just like normal, and, we're gonna have to get it and bring it over.
So
Okay,
the kids gotta be here at 7:40?
do it.
Do the kids gotta be here at 7:40 then?
Yes,
Yeah,
we are not, this year, I know we accepted kids at 7:15, we are not accepting anybody before 7:30. I don't even want y'all showing up until 7:30. Because the parents in the past, they have, utilized it as, oh, well, I'm just gonna drop my kid off as early as possible, cause I don't wanna deal with them anymore. or I've gotta go to work, and they're gonna have to realize that their kid was over here in DAP for a reason, and we're not gonna cater to the fact that you wanna drop your kid off at 7 o'clock in the morning. So our doors do not open until 7:30. We don't have to worry about them intermingling with junior high anymore, cause that was the biggest issue, is we didn't want them being dropped off at 7:15 and then hanging out with their friends. Well, now they're gonna be dropped off right here, and they don't have a chance for that. So,
But if we come in at 7:30, then they need to be here no earlier than 7:40, cause we gotta get in, open, and get clocked in.
and it's in here at 7:40,
Okay.
but that's what I said, we're not
Yeah.
accepting anybody
Right.
before that at all.
Now what about after?
Like when we release for dismissal, okay, so
We-
parents,
Yeah, 'cause
I know, and we run into that all the
Cheryl's
time.
been stuck with people and
And
kids.
I think no matter what situation we're in, we're always gonna run into that, cause you run into it at every campus. Parent forgot, parent didn't wake up, whatever it is, and we're gonna have to, be flexible and figure out what we need to do, but, basically, the parents are instructed, your kid needs to be picked up at 3, no later than 3:15. I need them gone by 3:15, and if that means that it becomes an issue, then we'll have parents come up here, we'll have a parent meeting, we'll make sure that they're picked up at the right time. We have a really good chief of police right now, and if I have to have someone escorted home and they feel very uncomfortable riding in the back of a cop car, that may happen too. But I need them gone on time, because what happens is, I don't want them leaving here to think that they can go over there and hang out with their friend at the junior high because they're late and now they're being dismissed. I want them gone.
Mhm.
Okay, we've had some that walk all the way to the park and wait on parents. That may happen too, but they're gonna have to be gone by 3:15
Off of school property.
off of school property. Okay. Now library, that is actually down at the bottom, the last thing on our agenda, okay? I'm kinda covering two at the same time, alright? Our library, which, by the way, Miss Lujan counted all of the books that were donated this summer, and we had a little over 1,700 books donated.
That's just what we counted. I think it's over 2,000.
Is it?
Well, because we didn't
Well,
count the
yes,
other
we didn't count the
side.
other ones, but we just, out of the ones that we counted, we had a little over 1,700 books donated, okay, which is fantastic, because that means that, and there's some that were literally released last week that we have, okay, we have some that still haven't arrived because they're not released until Tuesday. So we have lots of really, really good books coming in, okay? So our reading period is still from 2:30 to 3, okay? I want them reading. A lot of these kids have a really, really crappy home life, and I've watched some kids that the only escape they get is in that book. So I really wanna promote and make sure that our kids are reading from 2:30 to 3 every day. Our CAP kids are gonna be doing the same. They're gonna have a 30-minute block in their schedule that they're gonna be reading as well. So we're gonna really promote literacy this year and, keep pushing forward on that one. With the library, because of COVID, we have different procedures. In order to enter the library, they have to use hand sanitizer, okay? Then they can go look at books. Once they get their book, we're gonna be on the Follett system now, instead of that weird book source or whatever, so once she gets that set up, we'll have, basically, it'll be kind of like here's my ID, I scan my book and I leave. So it kinda does it for you, and then they scan their book back in, okay? Now, instead of putting it on the, cart, there's gonna be tubs set up, either along the wall, in the back. I don't know how she wants to set it up just yet, but she's gonna have tubs set up, and it'll say like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So if it's Monday, they put it in the Monday tub. After Monday, we'll put a lid on it, and we're gonna put it up for 4 days. So we're gonna have to quarantine the books for 4 days. So think about this. I'm glad we got all of these books in, because what's gonna happen is Monday's gonna be quarantined for 4 days. Tuesday's gonna be quarantined for 4 days. And if we have a lot of turnover with these books, we're gonna run out of books. So I'm really glad all these new books came in and they were donated to us. So we're gonna have quite a few things to choose from, okay? There is no pulling off the rack, well, I want number 2 because he had number 2 and I'm on 1 and I want 2 now. It's gonna have to sit for 4 days, and they're gonna have to realize that, but we're trying to keep them safe, okay? So, cause I know the graphic novels have been, the kids loved them. I mean, you couldn't keep them on the shelves. We have tons of new graphic novels. Tell them to pick another series and then go back to number 2 when it's been quarantined for 4 days, okay? And then when they leave, they'll have to hand sanitize again. So before and after they leave that library, okay? Social and emotional well-being of students. Okay, if we have some that are having some mental health issues because they've been quarantined since March, okay, keep an eye out on that, because we have some that they're gonna be quarantined, they've been quarantined for 6 months, and they're turning around and they're having to be quarantined in DAP all over again. So we may have to get a counselor out here to make sure that we're meeting their needs mentally as well, okay? So staff and student training, that's what we're doing right now, okay, it's going over this back to school plan. Our first day of school, we're just gonna make sure that we teach them how to properly wash their hands. Like, we just wanna make sure that they have proper hygiene while they're here, okay? If they want hand sanitizer, go around there and just pump it in their hands. I don't care if it's every 5 minutes. Not really every 5 minutes, but you get the gist of it. I wanna make sure that they understand that we're taking it seriously, because I don't want anybody in this building getting sick, okay? Basically, we've gone over everything. We've talked about the cleaning crew protocols, and then we do this. The other stuff has to do with our Edgenuity. Okay, we're gonna be offering Edgenuity to our CAP kids. Okay, they're gonna be required 240 minutes or 15 assignments. All right, for attendance purposes. Okay, and then the other is going to be our TAP kids, and they'll be doing the Google Classroom. Again, unless we run into some students, kind of like last year, we had a couple students that they came to us with 8 classes, but they only needed 2 credits to graduate. So guess what? We're pulling you out, we're putting you in your 2 classes to graduate, and you may graduate for your DAP placements done. Or if we,
Something for James, who was that one, not James, but somebody else, who was that?
Dylan.
Yeah, Dylan.
Yes, so we had a few kids like that last year, and if we run into those same kids, or we run into a kid that's been a 3rd-year freshman, I'm gonna probably pull them out of class and put them on Edgenuity and try to see if we can't build their credits up. Because even though they're here for a punishment, because of whatever they did, for discipline matters, we're gonna still work on them academically while they're here, okay? Technology devices and hotspots, we've got our technology department there on top of that right now, getting those Chromebooks and hotspots handed out. The signage page, which looks like this, okay? This is all the signage that I've made. This is gonna be used district-wide, okay? I wanted something that we could have here, but I shared it with the district, so you're gonna see this signage all over the district. But we're gonna have this hanging all over the place to make sure. There's gonna be some signs that will say this room needs to be disinfected. So at the end of each day, I want that sign up there, because I want ABM, when they come in, to know these rooms are the ones that are being used and need to be disinfected on a daily basis. Where this room might only need to be disinfected on Fridays. So we want to make sure that we're using that signage appropriately, okay? Ms. Willis, this one is all you while you're up at the front, okay? If we have any visitors come in, I don't care who they are. Now, if they're just here to pick up their kid, like, hey, I need so-and-so, and we get their kid and they're out in 2 minutes, they're fine. But if they're on our campus and they have to go somewhere, I don't care if they are sped and they were walking through the building to go somewhere else. You have to have them fill this out. Now, once they're done and they've shown that they're not having any symptoms and haven't been around anybody with COVID, then we can destroy it, because we can't really keep it on file because it's a violation, okay? But we can at least ask them these questions, because if they come past the office for any reason, we're gonna do a visitor screen on them, okay? Because the last thing I want is someone coming from SPED to go eat their lunch and they bring with them something we don't want, okay? The other page is gonna be our employees, students presenting symptoms. So if we have a kid that starts presenting symptoms, we're gonna put them in the isolation room, and this is the form that we'll have the nurse fill out to ensure that we're doing everything we need to. And then if we start checking too many boxes, that kid's going home and they're gonna have to prove that they're COVID free, okay? Other than that, the only thing we're gonna do is figure out what we're gonna do for bathrooms and daily cleaning procedures, okay? You can shut the video off. Longest